Hello everyone and welcome to last episode of season 1 of Iterate, and today we have Punit Chawla and we'll be covering all about designing and designing's future. So let's begin with Punit's introduction. Hi Punit, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm amazing. So let's begin with your introduction and let's tell the audience who is Punit Chawla.
Okay, so I'm a
Mhm.
UX UI designer, a web designer turned UX designer turned entrepreneur. So it was quite a journey from all these segments. Currently, I run my own design school,
Mhm.
but apart from the design school, we kind of host a bunch of events. An event is where I met you also
Yeah.
for the first time.
Yep.
And apart from that, we're also doing a lot of work for different companies when it comes to marketing their tools to more people, when it comes to helping companies improve their social media presence, etc. So that's more of a behind the scenes kind of thing. Um, Apart from that, I'm also an avid content creator. Some people might have seen my content,
Yep.
mostly spread across YouTube, LinkedIn, Medium. I do a lot of Medium. It's definitely a niche platform for me, but uh, a lot of people support me there as well. So it's a big blessing for me to share my work, my knowledge, my experience over there. So that's basically more or less about me professionally. Apart from that, I'm really into mindset and motivation, and I even wrote like a little book which is on Amazon, which was a little attempt at writing a self-help book.
Mhm.
um, so a bunch of things, but mostly for people who might be watching, a designer
Yep.
through and through.
Amazing. So I think everyone has a basic idea about who is Punit Chawla, correct? So let's start with the we start every podcast episode with the roadmap of everything. But as the topic of this episode is very different, so we'll start with the roadmap of getting into designing according to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
uh, a very open-ended question. Could mean a lot of different things.
Yep.
Now, I feel there is no one set roadmap.
Hmm.
I wouldn't like to tell people this is a roadmap and it doesn't work for them.
Hmm.
It generally depends completely on you. So, there are some people who are very enterprising, who are very confident about approaching people, talking, networking, things like that.
Hmm.
Based on that, if that's something that you're keen on doing, you're probably fit more for the business world, for the freelance world, or the consulting world. When it comes to full-time jobs in UX, there's the plethora of jobs out there. I think it also depends on the direction you want to go. So, for example, I was a UX UI designer. I was a UX UI designer turned UI designer. So I always wanted to specialize in something. And later down the career path, I was focused more onto UI design. So whichever company I was joining, I was being frank about it. And in most companies, I wasn't having to do much of the research work there. So it was more visual design and UI design at the end of the day.
Okay.
So everyone can take a different path. Penetrating these days has gotten a little tricky
Hmm.
because the area is very competitive now as compared to, say, 5 years ago
Hmm.
or even 2 years ago. After the pandemic, people realized, the career they are taking, the career they're in might not be the best,
Yep.
depending on where they are. And based on that, they just realized, okay, UX is something we're passionate about. Now it's the time to take the next step. So definitely in the competitive world, the roadmap looks more like how can you get into this faster.
Hmm.
The penetration part of it becomes more important than the growing part of it, especially for beginners. And in those situations, a UX designer or a aspiring UX designer needs to look at ways they can move forward, and kind of skip the line a little bit.
Correct.
So that is where design schools come in. That is where colleges come in. I'm sure at one point of time, when even mainstream careers like engineering,
Hmm.
computer engineering wasn't very popular, fewer colleges would have degrees for that.
Yeah.
you know But now, since it's become very popular, to kind of give everyone a comparative edge, now you have institutes, colleges for computer science. Now there are exams, whatnot. So the more a career progresses, the more tricky it's going to be to get into it. Career path needs to start from penetration, and the way into it is to skip the line in most cases. Another good way of skipping the line can be networking. If you know somebody who's say a director of design, you're getting into UX design and you want your first gig, the director of design trusts you and knows you well enough to give you a chance. So now you'll have to find more people who are ready to kind of give you a chance. Like the film industry. In the early days, the film industry wasn't very popular. The line wasn't that long. People, the initial actors who came into the film industry got it slightly easier as compared to what they are now. Now they have to stand in a line, but if they know the director, if they know the producer, if they know somebody, they often call that nepotism, but that's how they're skipping the line.
Struggle करा है ना सब लोगों ने.
हाँ, सब लोगों ने struggle किया है, but why struggle? If you have the option of not struggling, why struggle? So this is in design. I would say it's kind of nepotism when you know somebody very well and they kind of stand up for you. So I think that's one of the newer ways of getting into it. So two, I think, very effective ways to get into UX UI. The rest, of course, freelancing is always there. Consulting is always there. Freelancers always have different opportunities out there.
Agreed. Got it. So some amazing roadmaps that you gave us today. But then another question that a lot of designers and learners have in their mind is like, which segment of design has good pay, and like, is it like financially stable for a proper career or not? What do you think about that?
Okay. I can't tell you how. If I got $1 for every time somebody asked me that, I would be a trillionaire by now, because that is one of the most asked questions. But it's one of the most asked for a reason, I would say. Yes, money is always a big factor when getting into something. But I always start off this point, if at any point of time I give advice around this, is first of all, if you're in a creative field, money should always come last. If you want money, become a doctor. If you want money, become a data scientist. If you want money, become an entrepreneur. Why not? Just sell sunscreens from your home. I don't know. You'll earn way more than what you'll be earning as a UX designer. The reason why most people don't get into business, don't get into other fields, is because they're not passionate about it. So the question you have to ask yourself is, am I passionate about this? Even if I'm getting a low pay, will I still be happy? Does pay affect my happiness all the time? Because in most careers, if you're not getting paid enough, especially if you're not passionate about it, you'll lose motivation, you'll lose the game, you'll lose the race. You'll take it as a race rather than something that you're really interested in. So when you're getting into that, look at money from the point of view of supporting yourself, or maybe your family if you were supporting your family, but not looking at it from the point of view of mujhe is career mein aana hai because I want to make a lot of money. Yes, there is a lot of money in UX. I've known UX designers who are making 80 lakhs, 90 lakhs a year, 1 crore a year. They're definitely at a higher position. They're more executive than design. So even in the design field, the growth happens mostly when it comes to climbing the ladder of the corporate world. So if you're a UX designer, most companies will cap your salary. After that, a UX designer then won't be paying that much to a UX designer. They might pay that to like maybe a lead. So in this case, you're making more money if you climb the ladder. Salaries often range from like, I started, my first full-time salary was 9 lakhs a year. Which is, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, 5-6 years ago. Before that, I was freelancing. Before doing like a full-time job. Freelancing, I was getting about 20 to 30K per client, and I was handling 4-5 clients at a time. So
Okay.
still earning say 10 lakhs a year, 11 lakhs a year, having 3-4 clients simultaneously. These were definitely smaller startups and smaller companies I was working with. I was never very adamant to grow my freelance career, so I kind of stuck with what I had.
Okay.
So with freelancing, you can make as much money as you want. I know so many people who just start a studio because they have enough clients,
Fair
and then
enough.
they're making. Then you're an entrepreneur. You can make as much
Yeah.
money. You can expand as much you want.
You mentioned that you are also like a mindset person, right? You like
Yeah.
follow all the mindset, like philosophies, etc., etc. But when it comes to design now, do you think a lot of people don't focus on the mindset area when they're getting into design? And like if they actually work on the mindset area, what exact trajectory of growth can they face?
This is a very good topic to talk on, because people, when I talk about mindset, people start thinking about, I don't know, Sandeep Maheshwari and Richard Branson and people like that, who are motivating others, who have books, who have whatnot. Um, that's definitely an area of mindset. When we talk about self-help and when we talk about mindset, motivation, manifestation. At the end of the day, most creative people will have to have a certain mindset to be able to focus on creativity. When it comes to something technical like development or programming or accounting or law, these are things where there are set rules, where there are set ways of doing something, and you do it, and it can often be a repetitive task as well. But in creativity, it's always something new, always something different every day. So a mindset, when I feel at an early stage of design, your mindset should be, I have to put myself out there. Most people have the mindset of, okay, I'm going to sit at home, I'm going to write a bunch of emails, and that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas the truth behind a creative job is you just have to put yourself out there in some way or the other.
Fair
It
enough.
could be, you could be creating content, you could be writing articles, you could be connecting with people on LinkedIn, you could be going to meetups, you could be going to events and webinars and whatnot. I think that's number one always on my list. That's where I started my career from, and learning and networking was physical for me mostly.
Yep.
In the start of my career. So I knew I had to put myself out there. This is what the top designers of the world are saying. Dan Petty says this a lot. We have Dansky saying this a lot. Pinsky. Everyone who's an influencer, Ansh says this. Everyone says, put yourself out there, and that it is because of a reason.
Yeah.
And when we say put yourself out there, you have to find your own path. Mindset doesn't mean kahin se copy kar liya.
Yep.
Mindset means, okay, how can I do this for myself? What is best for me? Where do I find myself more comfortable and more expressive? And I think this is common with every field. I'm not sure if you know this, but there's a Japanese guy who tweaks and tunes Porsches for a living. So he goes around the world. People pay him $100,000-$200,000 per car, and he just goes to their garages and tweaks their Porsches. That's what he does. That's his design. And the way people know about him is because he's out there in the car enthusiast world. He put himself out there. He did it on his own. He showed his work, and he's become like an overnight sensation. I'm forgetting his name. If you find, I'll share it with you so you can maybe put it on. He's like a car modification legend. So he put himself out there, and he went into the field to do that. So he didn't just stay at home, message a bunch of people, and thought that's the end of the day. So I think that's number one. Number two mindset, I would say, which I think a lot of people don't possess, and that somehow people can skip the line, is to be able to expand. Most people get stuck in a bubble. So if you're a UX UI designer, UX UI. It just gets into your head. That's all you're doing. But as a UX designer, can you maybe, I don't know, do motion design? Can you do even for problem solving? If you're so passionate about problem solving, you should have learned a bunch of skills by now. It's all about knowing what can solve the problem better. So not restricting yourself to UX. Can motion solve it? Can interaction solve it? Can marketing solve it? Can sales solve it? So whatever areas and fields you have that can improve a customer experience overall, learn that. Expand your horizon. At one time, I was working in a startup. This is why I tell people work in a startup. The amount of push you get to have to do like 10 other things except UX, even though that can get toxic over the long run, at least for the short term, you are sitting at your desk and you're learning a bunch of skills and somebody's paying you for it.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of see the world, see every skill in that sense. If I'm sitting at a desk, somebody's paying me to learn something new, why not? Go for a startup, go for an internship. Like you're in college, maybe some of your community members might be in college. I used to do like 3 internships in one summer holiday, just so that I can get as much juice out of it as possible. One, I remember I was doing remote. Then there was one I was doing in college. So every college has an incubator. Why you don't have to run around to find an internship. Go to a company that has started from your college. Find the best ways of doing it. And the third internship I think I was doing at IIT Delhi ka koi incubator tha, and there I built my network. So if you get into the IIT campus, you meet a bunch of people. You don't have to get into IIT to get their network.
Yeah.
So this was a hack for me. I could hack myself into any organization, any company, and from there I was able to pivot. So these two mindsets kind of really helped me out.
Understood. Like, it's very interesting because developing this mindset of yours also requires, some guts, and because people get scared these days very easily. For example, it's like a student like me. When you were a student, like even hearing this like from your mouth, like 3 internship at once, people get scared from doing even one internship and they just don't apply because of that. Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Guys, you just have to develop your mindset. And I think whatever path in design, be it engineering, etc., what you are doing is all your mindset, I feel like. And I'm moving on. You said like you made your network with the help of meetups. Like you were putting out yourself out there, correct? Like,
yeah.
Similarly, when I met you offline on Design Wings meetup, so like talking about the Design Wings side, what is Design Wings? What is your goal with it?
With Design Wings, right now we are genuinely trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to education. In India and in general, the world is so competitive now, as I spoke about earlier, that people who are joining hands with you, they're not joining hands with you just for something they could get somewhere else. They're joining hands with you because they know you are different. Be it in your career, be it in a design school, whatever. So how we are trying to do things here is we actually recently started a program called the Experienceship program.
Okay.
So the Experienceship program takes you through experiencing a UX design job, getting paid for it while learning UX design. So earlier kya hota tha, you take up a course, you do the course, you make your portfolio, this, that, and then you get a job, or you apply for 100 jobs, maybe you get one. Now what we're doing is we are tying up with a bunch of companies, studios in India.
Okay.
And we're saying, boss, you guys need talented people. You guys need people who are well trained, who are passionate about design, and who will give something really good to your team. And we're tying up with them so that once the course is over, that is where your experience starts. You do an internship with these studios and companies, paid internship for 2 to 3 months. And not only are you gaining a network there, not only are you building a portfolio with the real projects,
Yeah,
what
real
you're
life.
doing, getting an experience. That's why most people are like scared. They're like, oh, there are jobs with 1 year experience, 2 year experience, and we've just freshers. So we're trying to solve that problem by helping them penetrate the market early, learning while they're earning, and also getting a chance to work with these studios and companies full time. So a lot of these studios, they trust their interns more than external hires.
Okay.
So that is how their companies work, and we are using their system
Okay.
for the benefit of our students. So that's kind of how we're differentiating our design school, and that's where we really stand right now. We have a bunch of classes and cohorts going on with some expert mentors from all across India, from different companies, and we bring everyone together into a very holistic, very just chill out scene, just like we are doing right now,
Yeah.
just talking with each other, getting insights, and getting to learn something new, basically.
Amazing. Very nice. I think it requires a push from everyone's side, like that you are a
Yeah,
designer, I am a designer. You are doing this for the sake of actually, giving experience to people and taking
yeah,
India forward with it. Yeah, very
yeah,
amazing. And that day when I met you, like the whole idea was behind AI. So like now shifting
yeah.
towards the artificial intelligence segment. What do you
Yes.
think? I think that day I figured it out. Like this guy, I think knows how AI works because we were talking about like framers AI that is a proper gimmick and like actually changed the way I looked to framer. And yeah, what do you think about AI generally overall?
Uh, yeah, Framer probably hates me for that. But no, I've had a very long running relationship with Framer. I think that tool is amazing, but their
Yeah.
attempt at AI was a little mid,
Yep.
to say the best. I mean, that's what I can say about it. Now, when it comes to artificial intelligence, there is there's a hype phase for everything.
Yep.
I remember when no code came out, like Webflow Framework came out initially. Uh, they kind of caught wind of the hype train. They just went on with the flow, and people got onto it. This is something I also spoke about at the event, if you remember. This is the same thing that happened about 7-8 years ago.
Yep.
Was the whole no code fiasco, where everyone was scared. Oh, मेरा development job चली जाएगी because no code tools are coming. अरे coding नहीं करनी पड़ेगी लोगों को. That was the biggest thing, But over the past 5 years, 6 years, we've seen that's not really the case.
Yep.
Even when it comes to AI, let people, there's a lot of news that companies are throwing people out, sacking people because they're replacing them with AI alternatives. Like they're bringing in AI software, they're doing this, that, just so that they can save up on money and cost. Not gonna last. People forget there is a government also running the country, and they aren't gonna make any tax out of AI tools. They're gonna make tax out of people's incomes. So the moment it goes above and beyond a certain level, I'm pretty sure the government internally is talking about, different countries' governments are talking about putting a stop to how much a company can use artificial intelligence and how much replacement can actually happen. So definitely not a reason to be scared about. AI tools are there, but there's still a lot of designers. There's still a lot of new designers getting new jobs. So it's not like it's going to take your job or anything. So I think that's one thing I just have to make myself clear. Second of all, I think AI is definitely a great companion. A lot of people don't realize this. A lot of UX UI designers do it alone. Even if they're in a team, everything that they are doing is they're doing it alone. AI kind of takes that aspect out of doing it alone. So, for example, even on my computer here, I have Google ka Bard opened right up here,
Okay.
pinned to my browser. So, anytime I want to kind of learn a little more about something new, or maybe I'm writing an article, I want to research, or maybe I'm making a video, I want to research. I often use Bard to kind of get a little bit of assistance over there. So I think AI, artificial intelligence, is meant, the way it's designed and developed is meant to be an assistant. Um, any pick up any AI tool. On their website, you'll find the word assistant at least once, because that is what they're marketing it to be. They know that this is not going to be taking jobs, and they know that at the end of the day, people who are going to use AI, especially AI tools, not AI. I'm not talking about, say, AI models when it comes to doing a repetitive task, but when it comes to its assistance, they're selling it to designers. So if we don't have jobs, we're not going to buy AI tools. So when it comes to AI tools, that is what they're marketing it to be. And I think that is the direction it's going to keep on taking, the assistant factor. And it's going to shorten our workflows. It's going to shorten our design processes to a point where we can then focus on something better. We can focus on being creative. We can focus on solving bigger problems, bigger issues.
Correct.
Or solving issues that we didn't have time to do. That way, companies are going to benefit a lot, because the projects that took them 6 months would probably take 4 months now. So that's going to benefit companies a lot. And that's why I tell designers, if you have AI as a tool set, as a skill, and you're skilled with it, I won't say it's a skill exactly, but if you're skilled with the tools, you can pitch this in an interview, and they know that you're wanting to improve the company's standard. You're wanting to improve how the company works, and that always adds a lot to your portfolio, your resume. So yeah, I think it is definitely an assistant. It's a must-have as a tool set, as a skill set, and I think people are just going to benefit out of this in the long run.
Yeah, very true. And like all the designers that have been there on iTrade, they all have said this, like it will be only a assistant for you, and it won't replace you, obviously. And as you said, like when the no code era came in, like people were using the specific phrase called no code to actually boost their SEO. And similarly with AI as well, they are incorporating this fake feature in their websites to actually get to the top. Yeah, agreed. And obviously there are some tools which are actually useful. For example, Bard, OpenAI's ChatGPT. Even for UI, we like that day we used Relium, correct? Like that is also one amazing software and AI incorporation.
Assistant.
Assistant. It's amazing. So getting AI aside now, as we are talking about future over here, what do you think in India specifically, like let's say the Bharat word, but in Bharat, what do you think how design is moving forward day by day, year by year?
Okay, so I think the Indian landscape has different categories to it. There's always going to be make for India kind of segment.
Yep.
So if you're a designer who's designing for India, a lot of people don't understand this. You have to, as a designer, you have to do things geographically. I learned this when I was doing freelancing, and one of my clients wanted an app for India. I was a little confused. What do you mean by you want an app for India? Why do you point that out? They said Indian people love earthy colors. They love they think differently when it comes to using an app or interacting with people. So when you're creating for someone else, you have to look at their psyche. You're looking at their mindset. It's for designers, I would call it a mental model. So the mental model of an Indian customer or an Indian user is very different from, say, a mental model of someone in, I don't know, Slovakia or Australia or US. Just because we live differently, or we're born different in a different culture, or we're living a different life and lifestyle than them. So when we're creating something for India, I think the first thing we have to look at is dhanda. You know, most companies are run by Jains, Gujaratis, and
Yeah.
Marwadi people. But that factor aside, every business needs to make money.
Mhm.
And in India, you don't make money selling merch or selling expensive courses. Like if you go to the US, you look at one boot camp, their boot camp fees is like $10,000,
Yep.
and you lose your mind. No company in India can possibly even want to do that,
Mhm.
unless, I don't know, you're IIT or someone, you convince people that's what it takes. Um, but when it comes to India, I think selling the interface is important.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is people are accustomed to a certain set of standards. And if you speak their language, then you will be able to kind of interact with them. So there is always like a tone of how you're building a product. So if you're building a product which has a tone of being very professional, you're probably looking at professional people.
Mhm.
You're probably looking at working class people or corporate employees, etc. Then you're making the app from a completely different mindset. Here in India, what we have a lot of diversity. So we have tier one, tier two, tier three.
Mhm.
I don't think this is a concept in most Western countries of having tier two, tier three. I don't think there is a tier two, tier three concept.
Yeah.
There is a huge still. I won't. I'm not going to get into politics, but there is still a huge class divide. Um, this is something my grandparents were talking to me the other day. So my grandmother used to kind of, for charity, she used to kind of teach some children who were of like an underprivileged household.
Okay.
So
Okay.
um, she told me this one thing, that if you go to any Western country, even a homeless guy knows what McDonald's is, has probably had Starbucks, has probably driven a car at one point of their time. Here, the class divide is so huge that even someone who still has a little bit of money, it's not like they're super poor or underprivileged, but the class divide is such that they've never lived that kind of lifestyle. They've never gone to a McDonald's or a Starbucks. They've never gone to like a PVR.
Mhm.
They've never ridden in like an Uber. They don't even know what Uber is, maybe sometimes. So you're often designing products for people from different classes, from different segments, and from different tiers, and everybody has a different mindset. That is why when Amazon, for example, Amazon develops a product, especially for, say, India, let's just say they're designing something for India, it is 100% going to look different from what it's designed in Germany or Switzerland or US or whatever. uh, they'll definitely be focusing more on functionality than focusing on design and aesthetic. They'll definitely be focusing more on language. So, since there is a language barrier in India, there are a lot of people who don't know how to read English. So, you're designing for local languages, multiple local languages, that becomes a challenge. Then you're also focusing on your target audience. So if you have a tier 2, tier 3 target audience, you're having to advertise a particular feature differently. You can't just for example, even with Uber took out, I'm not sure if you remember, I think it still is there, you can book an Uber with SMS. So people who did not have the Uber app or were not uh, accustomed to an app like Uber, they could just type in through their phones. The reason being this is popular in India is because a lot of people still have smaller phones.
Yep.
So if someone wants to book an auto or even like a bike ride, people who are booking bike rides might not be someone who can maybe afford an Uber XL. So maybe you have a phone which is not, say, capable of having Uber, or your phone storage is very low, or whatever the reason is, or maybe you don't have internet. You can just type in an SMS code and they'll send you an Uber there at the location. So I think that was a cool initiative. This is something you won't really find in any other country. You know, UPI is something which is very different from other countries. You don't have UPI abroad. There's Apple Pay and
Yep.
AliExpress Pay and all that kind of stuff. So if you're looking at payments, you're looking at payments differently. So every aspect of the app changes country to country. So it's not just India. If you go to Japan, there's a huge debate that Japanese apps look very different, not because of the language, but also how people perceive digital media.
Yep.
You know, so
Agreed.
mindsets change, mental models change. So look at a country's mental model, and you'll be creating better apps.
Amazing. I think you covered every single point that a designer, specifically UI UX designer, should follow, and we dive deep in a lot of aspects. Ending the podcast with obviously some tips and tricks from Punit's side, so that everyone can use them and get ahead.
Tips and tricks. Okay. Again, a very general topic. I don't know where to start from.
Trillionaire.
But yeah, trillionaire. So yeah, so I think getting into creative space is all about tips and tricks. I don't think there is one general thing that you can do to kind of get into a creative space. You can't just do a course or do a degree or do a project and get into it. It's all about hacking your way into it. I think creative people are the most hacky people in the world, because just like I think jugadu people in the world. So I think more than half of the time when you're in the UX space, half the time you're having to do a lot of jugaad. So Indians are born creative, born gifted with this skill. So if you take it as a skill, if you take your jugaad as a skill, if you think problem solving is a skill, then I think you're really cut out for UX. What I would suggest most people to do is take it their own way, not follow the books, not follow the script, not follow anything that can get them into it. Get into it however you can. Don't just, I'm looking for a job because I'm a fresher. Why aren't you doing freelancing? Why aren't you doing consulting? Why aren't you doing projects for your own college? I don't know. So at the end of the day, find opportunities where you can find them. Don't think of an opportunity as too little or too big. As I said, 3 internships is not a big deal.
Yeah.
They don't really expect a lot from an intern. So when you're in an internship, if you're doing multiple internships at a time, it's really carving you out into something different. It's really teaching you something you can't learn from college, can't learn from courses. And I think just hack yourself in there, with however way you can. Jugado your way through it, and I'm sure you'll find a place where you can finally settle down, which is more respectable than just jugado, but it's definitely something that you can then at the end of the day be proud of. So yeah, I think that's my 2 cents on UX.
Amazing. Like, I completely agree with you, and I think your insights are very different when it comes to generic people, and people just on focusing on just getting ahead by ye course le lu, wo course le lu. Today we actually dive deep into the mindset of designing and mindset of a practical designer like you, and we dive deep in the company aspect of your side. It was an amazing session. I had a great time, Punit, today, and I think every single one in the audience will actually have, after watching this 30-35 minute video, if you guys are still there, hats off to you, because even the attention span of people is falling. So now people have to design according to the attention span. So interesting. Thank you so much, Punit, for actually giving Designare the time it wanted from your side. And we'll be obviously having you on our mentor session on our Discord server. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next season. Bye-bye.